Welcome to the last calm word. Let us get started with today's story. Her ex messaged me at midnight. 2 lines. She settled for you. She'll be back to me by spring. I showed it to her over breakfast, expecting her to be furious. She read it, set down her coffee, and smiled like she'd won something. He's not wrong about the second part, she said. 8 hours later, 2 police officers were standing in my hallway, and the reason they were looking for her made me grip the doorframe just to stay upright. My name is Daniel, I'm 34, and up until that morning I thought the worst thing in my life was a jealous ex who couldn't move on. I was wrong about which person in that sentence was the problem. Nora and I had been together 9 months. We met at a friend's housewarming, the kind of party where you talk to one person the whole night and forget everyone else exists. She was 31, ran social media for a skincare brand, quick with a joke, quicker with a comeback. For the first few months, it felt effortless. Then the names started coming up. Ethan, her ex. Not in a wistful way at first, more like background noise. A story about a road trip, a restaurant they used to go to. A joke only the 2 of them understood, which she'd explained to me anyway, laughing before she got to the punchline. I told myself everybody has a history. I have one too. The problem wasn't that she mentioned him. The problem was the shape of the stories. In every single one, Ethan couldn't let her go. He texted her, she said. He showed up at her gym. He sent flowers to her office with no card. But who else would it be? She'd tell me these things with a little sigh, like it exhausted her to be so wanted. And I believed her, because why wouldn't I? When someone you love tells you they're being pursued, your instinct is to protect them, not to interrogate them. So I offered to help. I said, if he shows up again, call me. I'll be there in 10 minutes. She'd wave it off. He's harmless. Just sad. Then, 3 weeks ago, the messages started coming to me. The first one was from an Instagram account with his name and his face. You should know who you're really with. I screenshotted it and showed her that night. She barely glanced at it. That's Ethan. Ignore him. A few days later, another. She talks about me when you're asleep. Ask her. That one got under my skin, and I hated that it did. I showed her again. This time she got angry, but not at him. At me. Why are you letting him live in your head? That's exactly what he wants. I didn't have a good answer, so I dropped it. Then came the midnight message. She settled for you. She'll be back to me by spring. And in the morning, when I showed it to her and she smiled, something in me finally went cold instead of hot. You think that's funny? I asked. I think it's Ethan being Ethan, she said. He knows me. Better than you do. Honestly. That's why it scares you. It doesn't scare me. It confuses me. Why is your ex so sure you're coming back? She shrugged. And the shrug was the worst part. Because we had something real. You and I are nice. Ethan and I were real. There's a difference. I put down my fork. Then go be real with him. Excuse me? You heard me. If he understands you better, if what you had was so much more than this, I'm not going to sit here being your comfortable in between. Go. She stood up so fast her chair scraped. You're being insane. No. For the first time in 9 months, I'm being clear. Every story you tell me ends with how much he wants you. You've never once told me a story that ends with how much you want me. She grabbed her bag. I'm not doing this before work. Then don't come back until you can. She slammed the door hard enough to rattle the windows. I heard her car peel out of the lot. And honestly, standing in my kitchen with a plate of eggs going cold, I felt something close to relief. If she cared more about the man who left than the one across the table, better to find out now than in a marriage. I told myself I'd handled it well. I told myself the drama was over. Then at 6:40 that evening, someone knocked. 3 firm raps, and I figured she'd come to apologize or to scream. And either way, I was ready. I opened the door to 2 uniformed officers. Good evening. Are you Daniel Hart? Yes. We're trying to locate Nora Vance. We were told she spends time at this address. My stomach did something complicated. She was here this morning. We had a fight. She left. What's this about? The older officer, a woman with tired eyes and a very steady voice, glanced at her partner. A restraining order was granted against Miss Vance this afternoon. We need to serve her and make sure she understands the conditions. I actually laughed, one confused bark of a laugh. A restraining order against Nora? By who? Ethan Cole. The name landed like a slap. Ethan filed against her? No, you've got it backwards. He's the one who's been harassing her. He messages me. He shows up at her gym. I stopped because the officer was already shaking her head. Slowly, almost gently, the way you break bad news to someone who hasn't figured out yet that it's about to be bad. May we come in, mister? Hart? There are some things about this you should probably hear sitting down. I stepped aside. They came in, declined water, and the older officer, whose name tag read Reyes, opened a folder thick enough to be a phone book. Mr. Cole has been documenting contact from Miss Vance since January of last year, she said. Over 400 text messages, voicemails. He blocked her number. She created new ones. He blocked her accounts. She created new accounts. There are logs of her appearing at his apartment, his workplace, his mother's house. On 3 occasions, she called in what turned out to be false emergencies to force him to respond to her. I sat down on my own couch like a guest in my own home. That's not possible. He's the one who won't leave her alone. She showed me the flowers. She showed me... Did you see him send anything? Reyes asked. Or did she tell you he did? I opened my mouth and nothing came out, because the honest answer was the second one, every single time. Every story of Ethan's obsession had come from her mouth, and only her mouth. I had never once seen him do anything at all. The messages I got, I said slowly, from his account, telling me she'd go back to him, I have them right here. I pulled out my phone, opened the thread, turned it toward her. Officer Reyes read it, and I watched her expression shift into something careful. Mr. Hart, look at the username, not the display name, the actual handle. I looked, the account read, Ethan Cole. Real, I'd assumed, obviously his. Then Reyes said, Mr. Cole's verified account is Ethan Cole. No dot, no underscore. This is an impersonation account. We've seen 4 others exactly like it in his file. The room went very quiet. I sat there holding my phone, staring at that little underscore, that single character I'd never thought to question, and I felt the entire last 3 weeks reorganize itself in front of me. She made it, I said. It wasn't a question. That would match the pattern? Reyes said. Miss Vance has allegedly created accounts impersonating Mr. Cole in order to send messages to the men she dates. The messages make it appear that he's obsessed, that he's pursuing her, that he's a threat. She then shows those messages to her partner as proof. It builds a story in which she's the victim and he's the danger. You're not the first person to sit on a couch like this and hear this. I thought I might be sick. Why? Why would anyone do that? In our experience, the younger officer said quietly, it keeps her connected to him. If she's the one being hunted, she never has to admit she's the one who can't let go. And it keeps every new relationship revolving around him too. You've spent 3 weeks thinking about Ethan Cole. When was the last time you and Miss Vance talked about anything but him? I couldn't remember. That was the answer. I genuinely couldn't remember. Reyes flipped a page. There's one more thing, and it's the reason the judge moved this fast. 2 weeks ago, Miss Vance filed a police report claiming Mr. Cole assaulted her outside her building. Broken bracelet, a bruise, the whole account. Mr. Cole was able to prove he was 300 miles away at his sister's wedding that entire weekend, with 200 witnesses and a photographer's timestamps. The false report is what convinced the court she was escalating. Filing a fake assault claim is a very short step from planting a real-looking injury and blaming someone for it. That was the moment my relief from the morning curdled into something colder. Because I remembered. 2 weeks ago, Nora had asked me, out of nowhere, whether Ethan had ever hit her when we were together. I'd said, no, you never told me that. And she'd said, right, I don't like to talk about it. She had been building the story with me too, testing which bricks I'd accept. Do you know where she is right now? Reyes asked. Probably her apartment, I said. Maybe her sister's. I gave them both addresses. They wrote everything down, gave me a case number, and told me the most important thing very clearly. If Nora contacted me and tried to get me to reach out to Ethan on her behalf, to pass along any message, to confront him, I was to refuse and call them immediately. Do not become the messenger, Reyes said. That's how she uses people. Then they left, and I sat alone in the dark for a long time. And then I did the one thing I probably shouldn't have. I found Ethan's real account, the one with no underscore, and I sent him a message. This is Daniel. I've been dating Nora. The police were just at my place. I owe you an apology I don't even fully understand yet. He replied in under a minute. Like he'd been waiting a year for someone to say exactly that. You don't owe me anything. She did the whole routine on you, didn't she? Fake account. She showed you messages from me you never actually got sent. Yeah. Screenshot the account. It'll be deleted by tomorrow. She always deletes them, once the story's done its job. I checked the next morning. He was right. The impersonation account was gone. Scrubbed. Like it had never existed. We talked for almost 2 hours that first night. Ethan told me things that made my skin crawl, not because they were dramatic, but because they were so ordinary, so patient. She'd been the one to end their relationship, he said. Told him she needed space. A week later, she was posting photos with a new guy. Then the messages to Ethan started, hundreds of them, swinging between love and rage. When he stopped answering, she started showing up. When he blocked her, she made new accounts. And every man she dated after him got the same performance. The sad, harmless ex who just couldn't let go. The guy before you almost drove to my gym to fight me, Ethan said. I had to show him 12 months of messages I never replied to before he believed me. He apologized and disappeared. I don't blame him. She's good. She's really, really good. Why didn't you file sooner? I asked. Because I kept thinking she'd get bored. Move on. I didn't want to be the guy who ruined someone's life with a court order. He paused. Then she filed the fake assault report. That's when I understood she wasn't going to move on. She was going to keep escalating until one of these stories had a body in it, and I wasn't going to let it be mine. Over the next 2 days, it all came apart the way these things do. Nora called me 11 times the first night. The voicemails were a tour through her entire repertoire. First confused. Daniel, the police came to my apartment. What did you tell them? Then wounded. I can't believe you'd side with him after everything he did to me. Then, when neither worked, ice cold. You have no idea what you just walked into. He's going to make you look like the crazy one, too. I didn't call back. I forwarded every voicemail to the case number Reyes had given me. 2 days later, Nora showed up at my door. I didn't open it. I talked to her through it, and I recorded the whole thing on my phone. Because Ethan had told me to, and because I finally believed him. We need to talk, she said. We don't. I've seen the file. I talked to Ethan. I know about the account you built. I know about the report you filed on a weekend he wasn't even in the state. Silence. A long one. Then, softer. The pivot. Everything I did because I was scared. You'd understand if you knew what it was like to love someone like him. Nora, he was at a wedding. 200 people. A photographer. You filed a police report saying he hurt you while he was dancing at his sister's reception. That doesn't mean I wasn't scared. It means you were building something, and I was the next piece of it. You need help. Real help. And you need to leave. Because standing here trying to get me to pick a side against a man you have a restraining order from is a crime. And I will call it in. She left. I watched through the peephole as she stood in the hall, perfectly still, for almost a full minute, before she finally walked away. That stillness is the thing I still see when I can't sleep, not the shouting. The stillness. In the weeks that followed, I learned the pattern went back years. 3 relationships at least. Maybe more. She'd violated the order twice within a month. Once at Ethan's gym. Once by having a mutual friend deliver a message she'd promised was just closure. She's facing criminal charges now, and because the fake account and the false report both trace back to her own devices, the case against her is not a he said, she said. It's a paper trail. The prosecutor contacted me as a witness, and I said yes without hesitating. Ethan and I aren't exactly friends. It's a strange thing to bond over, being cast as the villain in someone else's private movie. But we check in. He's seeing someone new, keeping it quiet, deliberately off the internet, because he knows she's still watching. I started seeing a therapist, mostly to answer the question that keeps circling back. How did I not see it? And the answer my therapist keeps giving me, patiently, is that I wasn't supposed to. People like Nora don't get caught by careful men. They get caught by paperwork, by timestamps, by a wedding photographer 300 miles away. The rest of us just believe the person we love. Because loving someone means handing them the benefit of the doubt, and she knew exactly how to spend it. Her ex messaged me at midnight and told me she'd settled for me, that she'd be back to him by spring. He was half right. She would have gone back to him one way or another, dragging me and a fabricated crime along behind her. Because going back to Ethan was the only story she'd ever really been telling. The message wasn't a warning from a jealous ex. It was a line she wrote herself, from an account she built herself to keep the only man she couldn't control at the center of a life he'd spent a year trying to escape. I almost played my part perfectly. The only reason I didn't is that 2 officers knocked on my door at 6:40 on a Tuesday and told me the one thing she never could, that the person being hunted and the person doing the hunting were the same person, and I'd been in love with both of them without ever knowing there was a difference. Thank you so much for watching till the end. Wishing you all the best, stay healthy, and take care.